Parents of Reddit, what lessons have you tried to teach your kids that completely backfired? There's a special kind of naivety that comes with being a first-time parent. You read all the books, attend the parenting classes, and consult a plethora of blogs, all in the hopes of raising a tiny human into a model citizen. My wife, Lisa, and I were no different. Our son, Timmy, was a bright-eyed, inquisitive 5-year-old who could light up a room with his smile. We were determined to mold him into a person of impeccable character. And what better virtue to start with than honesty? I remember the day we decided to impart this valuable lesson as if it were yesterday. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the sun was casting a warm glow through the living room windows. We sat Timmy down on the couch, faces solemn but encouraging. "Timmy," Lisa began, "do you know what it means to be honest?" Timmy, clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur, shook his head, eyes wide with curiosity. "It means always telling the truth," I explained. "No matter what. Being honest is very important because it helps people trust you. When you tell the truth, people know they can believe what you say." Timmy nodded seriously, taking in every word. Encouraged by his rapt attention, we continued, extolling the virtues of honesty. We probably went a little overboard, but hey, we were first-time parents armed with good intentions. The next day, Timmy got his first real test of honesty in the most unexpected way possible. We were at the local grocery store, doing our weekly shopping. Timmy was sitting in the cart, surrounded by boxes of cereal and bags of fruit, happily munching on a cookie. It was a typical trip, filled with the usual banter and deliberations over which brand of peanut butter to buy. Then it happened. As we were navigating the crowded aisles, Timmy's eyes locked onto a very large man standing by the deli counter. Before Lisa or I could even process what was happening, Timmy's little voice rang out, clear as a bell, in that way only a child's voice can. "Hey, mister," Timmy called out, his voice echoing through the store. The man turned to look at him, a curious expression on his face. Timmy, without a hint of hesitation, continued, "You're really, really fat." The man froze, mid-order, and turned to look at us. The entire store seemed to fall silent, every eye turning towards the scene unfolding in aisle 3. My wife and I, faces flushed with embarrassment, were rooted to the spot, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or disappear into the nearest shelf. I quickly pushed the cart closer to the man, stammering apologies. "I am so sorry, sir. We've been teaching him about honesty, and he..." To our immense relief, the man burst into hearty laughter. "Kids, huh?" he said, wiping a tear from his eye. "They do say the darndest things. Don't worry about it." We chuckled awkwardly, mumbled more apologies, and quickly finished our shopping, eager to escape the judgmental stares and snickers of fellow shoppers. In the car, Lisa and I tried to explain to Timmy the difference between being honest and being tactful. "Timmy, it's important to be honest," Lisa said gently. "But you don't always have to say everything you're thinking, especially if it might hurt someone's feelings." Timmy nodded, looking a bit confused but accepting our words with the seriousness only a 5-year-old can muster. We thought that was the end of it, but oh, how wrong we were. The following weekend, we attended a family gathering. It was a typical get-together with too much food, loud laughter, and the chaotic joy that only happens when you cram 3 generations into one house. Timmy was in his element, running around with his cousins and showing off his latest dinosaur toy. Then, disaster struck. Timmy's great-aunt Mildred, a woman known for her eccentric fashion choices and a penchant for wearing far too much perfume, decided it was time to bestow one of her famous, overly enthusiastic hugs on her great-nephew. "Come here, Timmy," she called, arms wide open. Timmy took one look at her and, remembering our recent conversations about honesty, blurted out, "You smell really bad," he said. The room fell silent. Aunt Mildred's face turned a shade that matched her bright red lipstick, and the rest of the family stared at us in horror. Lisa and I exchanged a look that was equal parts mortification and resignation. We had created an honesty monster. I quickly intervened, picking Timmy up and murmuring apologies to Aunt Mildred, who was fanning herself dramatically. "He didn't mean it like that," I tried to explain, but the damage was done. Later that evening, after the party had wound down and we were back home, we had another talk with Timmy. "Buddy," I said, kneeling down to his level, "remember how we talked about honesty?" Timmy nodded, eyes wide and innocent. "Well, sometimes it's important to keep some thoughts to ourselves if they might hurt someone's feelings. It's called being tactful." Timmy looked thoughtful for a moment. "So, I shouldn't say, when someone smells bad?" "Yes, exactly," Lisa said, relieved that he seemed to be getting it. "It's not about lying, it's about being kind." The next few weeks were relatively uneventful. We figured Timmy had finally understood the nuanced lesson we were trying to teach him. Then came the parent-teacher conference. Mrs. Henderson, Timmy's kindergarten teacher, greeted us with a warm smile as we sat down. Timmy is a delightful child, she began, and we both sighed with relief. But there was an incident I wanted to discuss. I felt a familiar knot of dread in my stomach. What happened? Well, Mrs. Henderson said, trying to hide a smile, we were having show and tell, and Timmy decided to tell the class about the time he learned that honesty is the best policy. He then proceeded to give examples, including the one where he told a man at the grocery store he was fat. Lisa and I exchanged a look, a mix of pride and horror. Mrs. Henderson chuckled. It sparked quite the discussion about honesty and tact. I think the kids learned a lot, but maybe you could have a chat with Timmy about appropriate classroom stories. We left the school, shaking our heads and laughing. Parenting was clearly going to be a series of lessons learned the hard way for all of us. That night, as I tucked Timmy into bed, he looked up at me with those big, innocent eyes and said, "Daddy, I tried to be honest and kind today. Did I do okay?" "You did great, buddy," I said, ruffling his hair. "Just remember, sometimes it's okay to keep some thoughts in your head and not say them out loud. It's all about finding the right balance." Timmy nodded, snuggling into his blankets. "I'll try, Daddy. I promise." As I turned off the light and closed his bedroom door, I couldn't help but smile. We might not have gotten it right the first time, but we were all learning together. And really, that's what parenting is all about, making mistakes, laughing at the chaos, and trying our best to raise good humans. Little did we know, the real challenge was yet to come, teaching Timmy about the tooth fairy. But that's a story for another day.